special.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay. So, if you know anything about me and Nelson, I'm very opposite of Nelson. This is extremely overwhelming. I'm very touched by how many people have come tonight. I think this is truly amazing. I would have liked to have, I prepared a speech. I would have liked to have practiced it, but I couldn't keep reading it over and over without losing it. So I apologize. I will have to read most of it.
You got it. You good? You got it. You got it.
Get one more sip of wine.
Take two. Take five.
Yeah, Tiffany.
Okay. Time has always been a bit of an issue for Nelson and me. I was typically ready to pull the trigger on decisions that needed to be made. He liked to sleep on it before deciding. I was and am anxious to get tasks done, and he was a fan of procrastination. I like to arrive early to everything, and he liked to be a little past fashionably late. The biggest issue with time for us was how often he arrived home late after work. He worked very long hours at Travelers and would call me to tell me he was on his way home, which was about 20 minutes away. The thing is, he'd arrive about 2 hours later. I knew on those nights he'd been at Vintner or Queen City Craft or Cellar and Ale to have a beer or two and blow off some steam. And each time he was out, he'd run into friends and he'd lose all track of time. Nelson couldn't go anywhere without running into people he knew. He had such a way about him that made others feel comfortable. He spoke his mind and was unapologetic, yet he was open-minded and respected differences of opinions. He'd throw punches to protect a friend without question. Yet he was so kind-hearted and gentle that he'd catch and release bugs in our house rather than squash them. He was rough and tough and all boy, but he would let Kira and Nova put makeup on him, paint his nails, and then go out in public without thinking twice. Nelson's personality could never be contained in a box. He was so much: an amazing cook, a makeup artist on Halloween, a passionate coach, a comedian, a philosopher, a dedicated and loving father and husband, and the life of the party. Many of you may not have known about his diagnosis until recently. That was how.
That was my wife. She did that.
I did not.
Doing things, Jim.
Maybe it's out of battery.
Out of batteries.
So we can hear you.
Speak loud.
Speak louder.
You're doing amazing.
My teacher voice, that's right. Our time with my husband was cut way too short. Many of you may not have known about his diagnosis until recently. That was how Nelson wanted it. Although he was often the center of attention, he never wanted to be the focus of conversation. He wanted to be treated as he had always been treated prior to cancer. For a few months, he was able to live as he always had. He worked normal hours, and then some, hung out with friends, cooked elaborate meals for us, and coached math sports. Then everything changed so quickly. Over the last 2 months, Nelson went through a dramatic transformation and endured so much pain. He never complained and refused to give up fighting. This past Monday, I was told the worst news of my life. There was nothing more that they could do. And we had days at most. I broke down crying, unable to breathe. By this time, Nelson was in a different place mentally. The pain and heavy medication he was on had him hallucinating, and he could barely hear me cry. He looked over at me and came out of the fog. He asked me why I was crying, and I came to his side and said something like, "I just want you to get better."
You got it. Keep going.
He said, "Positive, be positive." Those were some of the last words he ever spoke. Even in that horrible moment, he was still trying to fight and be optimistic. I replay a lot of our last moments together in my head. Thinking of that moment, I can't help but believe he really meant for me to be positive beyond the time of his passing. Nelson would never want to be the cause of our tears. He lived life how he wanted to live it. Tonight we gathered together in a very non-traditional way because this is how he would have wanted it done.
Yes. Yes.
I think Nelson is very proud tonight. He's proud of how we all came together as a team to make the celebration happen so quickly. A lot of family and friends have done so much for us, and we are forever grateful for you. Nelson is proud of his sweet madre for staying strong, trying to keep finding the positives in life. He's so proud of our kids, Matt, Kira, and Nova, for being resilient and for taking care of one another, and me. I can't express how terribly heartbroken I am. And I feel like my time with him was stolen from my children and me. But I have to be positive and be grateful to have been blessed with the time we were given. I hope we can all try to hold on to that same gratitude. So tonight, let us raise a glass to honor Nelson. Life, joy, fun, humor, and love into our lives.